Hey, it's John. It's a beautiful sunny-ish day in San Francisco today, but only for the next few hours. So for this morning, I decided to take my vlogging outside and sit down here on a bench out on the Embarcadero and enjoy being outdoors while I can today. So today I want to talk about my experience with the ketogenic diet. For those of you who don't know, the ketogenic diet is a very high-fat, low-carb diet where you're typically consuming around 70% of your calories from fat, 5% from carbs, 25% from protein. That's more or less the macro mix that I'm shooting for. And I've been on this for about a month now. In the past, I had tried to get on the ketogenic diet, and I just wasn't able to do it. And that's mainly because, when you first get into it, you have to go through a couple days of pain where it just doesn't feel very good. And I had actually tried to ease into it slowly, which really just drew out that induction phase and made it worse. So what I did this time was I just dove right in. I actually fasted for 4 days straight. And then at the end of that fast, I went straight on the keto diet, no carbs. And that was actually way easier. So a lot of things in life, it's just, if they're tough, it's easier to dive right in rather than trying to ease your way in, is what I've found. So the ketogenic diet is mostly used for fat loss. It's very good for that. But for me, that's a secondary concern because I'm around 13% body fat right now. I do want to lose some fat, but I did it mainly for its effects on my brain. First off, that I wanted to have more energy and steadier energy levels throughout the day. And second, I actually have atopic eczema. I just itch all over my body for reasons I've never quite figured out. I've had it my whole life. And, I'd done some research and found out that itching is, centrally modulated in the brain by a neurotransmitter called glutamate. And the ketogenic diet actually lowers glutamate production in the brain. So I thought that might help. Haven't really seen an effect on the itching so far, but my energy level has been a lot better and a lot steadier. I have been sleeping better. I went through a little hiccup at first where I was just feeling really beaten down, really run down. And what I realized was I was kind of overtraining at the gym, but more so under eating. I counted calories, measured what I was eating, and I realized I was way overestimating how much fat I was adding to my food and to my tea. Didn't really have a good understanding of how big a tablespoon was. I thought I was adding a tablespoon of coconut oil to my tea, and it was really like half a tablespoon at most. So I took a few days off the gym and upped calories, and now I'm feeling great. Energy level is excellent, mood is excellent, sleeping very well. The only thing I'm having trouble with is, my libido is way low, which is unusual. Most people find their libido goes way up on the ketogenic diet, and I've already eliminated not eating enough as the cause for that. So I kind of suspect I'm selenium deficient because ketogenic dieting can deplete your body's selenium. So one thing I'm going to do today is just go buy some Brazil nuts and start eating a few of those a day and see if that helps. And if it's not that, then it might just be something to do with how the ketogenic diet affects brain chemistry. Because the knock-on effects of switching your entire body's energy metabolism from glucose to ketones, which if you didn't know, ketones are produced by the breakdown of fat, and when you go on this diet, they become your main fuel source, not glucose. So it's possible that this just does something to my brain chemistry that lowers libido, and maybe this diet isn't going to be right for me. But I'm hoping it's the selenium or some other micronutrient I can add back in. And I've committed to following this diet through the end of March. So I've got 6 more weeks to go. So now I'm feeling really good on it, other than the libido. And the only other thing, and by the way, it hasn't surprisingly been hard for me to stick to this time. Like, I kind of sort of miss carbs, but not that much. Like, I'm not overly tempted by them. I still have a lot of like carb heavy and sugary foods in my home that I'm not really tempted to eat. So, using this method of plunging right in has worked pretty well for me. It doesn't hurt that I had been doing low carb dieting and intermittent fasting before, so I've developed the skill of food discipline before doing this. So what I've recently also started doing was I went from the standard ketogenic diet to the targeted ketogenic diet. And all that means is that before each of my workouts, I'll have another 20 or 30 grams of fast digesting sugar, like honey or candy, something like that, within the half hour before my workout. And what that does, it just gives my muscles some extra fuel, maybe technically brings me out of ketosis just for an hour or so, which isn't bad, but it's significantly increased my workout performance. One thing I've found about this diet, it doesn't really hurt you in terms of maximal strength if you're doing like sets of 2, because those just use ATP that's lying around in the muscles, so your diet doesn't make too much of a difference. But once you get to a rep range that's higher than that, then the ketogenic diet is a bit of a disadvantage compared to other diets, because the ketogenic pathway just doesn't fuel that kind of short-term exertion quite as well as carbs do. So the targeted ketogenic diet is a pretty big upgrade. And the ketogenic diet is actually superior for long endurance stuff like marathons, triathlons, but I have no interest in doing that. So I'm on the TKD right now, and that's really helped a lot with workout performance and also eliminating any kind of post-workout fatigue that I do. And I'm trying to minimize the frequency with which I carb up with a high-carb cheat meal or anything, because that can be good for kind of boosting your metabolism, your energy level, but then you have to get back into ketosis, go through that keto flu phase where you feel a little low energy and dizzy for a few hours. So I want to do that as little as possible. And the other thing I've just started on 2 days ago was I'm going to do a recomp for the next 6 weeks until April 1st. In that 6 weeks, my aim is to gain 2 pounds of muscle and lose 6 pounds of fat, which is a very aggressive target. It is definitely possible if you do everything right. It's actually possible to do a little better than that if you do everything right, but that's what I'm shooting for. The big question is whether this diet will support that much muscle gain. It definitely supports fat loss. And I guess the other question will be whether I get overtrained again, because during this recomp cycle, I'm going to do short, full-body workouts every single day, barring extenuating circumstances. I'm going to try to never miss a workout. And I'll go into more detail later about how I plan to avoid overtraining. But the short story is I'm going to use the targeted ketogenic diet, and I have a few methods that I'm using to not do pre-planned rests, but to kind of auto-regulate the whole program so that I ease up when I can tell that I'm not progressing. But anyway, long story short, so far the ketogenic diet has been very good for my energy level, for my mood. Once I started eating the right amount of calories. I've lost a little bit of fat, lost a lot of water weight at first, like 10 pounds, and now fat loss has leveled off and is very gradual. So other than the libido thing, it's been great for me. I'm loving it. And, I'll update you in a few weeks on how the recomp goes and whether or not I get the libido issue, handled.